Welcome back to this battle between G2 and H2K. G2 got the win in game one and may just look to close the series out here in the second fight. Vedius, you're doing a dance. The people can't see it because you're not on camera, so it doesn't matter. But I feel like we saw so much of what we wanted to see from two of the top teams in Europe in game one. This was the dance, for the record, if you guys wondering what it looked like.
Yeah, fun game one. Very close. Two really good teams. That's cool. But also,
I kind of came in really strong, and then like, you met me down here. Yeah, it was nice.
Because we want to see more blood. We want to see them killing each other.
All right,
but,
I'm listening. I'm on board.
I wonder whether or not H2K just go for a very similar draft to what they did in game one, right? Because I think they played the game really well. Like that one Baron fight, I just think that they weren't really on the same page. They weren't clicking together. They weren't going for the same targets. The way in which they executed wasn't ideal. And I think that just needs to be their focus coming into game two. I would not be surprised if they ran a very similar draft, especially considering how well they did deal with Sven's Caitlyn for the majority of that game.
Yeah, and Febiven got camped by a Kha'Zix. He got ganked level 2 by a Kha'Zix with red buff, who just leapt in, did 300 damage to him, flashed to get another auto, and then that was it. He didn't get a flash from Febiven. He didn't get anything else. But as a mid laner, that has to be incredibly frustrating. But Febiven,
dude, it is. It is so frustrating when you're just like, I'm a level 1 Kassadin. There's no way. And then like this bug just jumps in your face, and he even flashes on you, and you're like, well, there's my laning phase. That was a fun experience. Yeah, it's definitely not fun.
Especially a bit of personal trauma here.
Dude, like Kassadin's really good in solo queue. He does so well into many things, and people don't normally camp you, except those clever little junglers that sit there and go, I can ruin his day. And they do ruin my day. They ruin my day all the time. And that's what Trick tried to do in game one.
But it didn't ruin Febiven's day.
He didn't,
and
because he's really good. He is very good in the middle lane. And let's see if he can have that same kind of performance, because in the late game fights, he definitely had a huge impact, but the rest of his team couldn't quite have the same level of success.
All right, well, a bit of a mix-up here. H2K now on the blue side, G2 Esports on the red. What are the bands going to look like? Well, they didn't like the Caitlyn pick last time around, it looks like. I was surprised to see it go through.
No more, indeed. I'm actually surprised that they didn't leave it open for themselves. Typically, what we've been seeing a lot on red side bans are the Zac, Elise, and the Caitlyn. So this will give G2 a little bit more freedom if they want to target Jankos a little bit. Remember that we talked about at the beginning of Game 1 Champions, like the shift in the jungle meta, right? Typically, Jankos prefers the kind of early game junglers, Kha'Zix, Elise, Lee Sin, something he can have a little bit more impact on. Instead, he decided to go for the Gragas. Definitely still solid jungler, can still have a good performance on it. He had a lot of great ultimates, but I wonder if he's going to revert back now to maybe something a little bit more aggressive in the early game, or whether or not they're going to stick to the same style that we saw in game.
And be clear, H2K not having a more proactive early game wasn't an issue. They had scaling, they had nice lane matchups. Yep. They were happy to keep extending the laning phase, not looking for anything to break it open. But they are already mixing things up and pick and ban. Blue side wasn't different enough. They banned away the Sejuani, the Tahm Kench as well. Looks like they don't want to first pick it, and they definitely do not want to give it away and put it into the hands of Mithy.
So now G2 have the choice of either ban the Thresh and allow H2K an alternative pick priority, or they leave it open. And now H2K, they have the choice, right? I feel like it makes the most sense for Che to just get himself Thresh. He's a really good Thresh player. Thresh is considered S tier into the majority of champions. And also, Cho has been left up and available for the side of G2. And that instead decides to be the focus.
Surprise, of course, it was banned away in the first game. So interesting to see let through now, and we can see why it was banned, as it has remained a high priority pick now in the hands of H2K. We mentioned earlier on the broadcast today, is still technically a flex pick. Could see it go top or jungle. Now,
or mid.
I was going to say anything past top or jungle, you're getting a little more creative, although I know you are an avid Cho'gath mid player, Vedius. However, G2 firing back with some strong picks of their own. They have the Kalista, now taking their time on this second pick, however, not 100% convinced that the Gragas is the right choice.
Well, you do have the flexibility with the Gragas too. We do know that this is one of Trick's more comfortable junglers, and if you're a G2 fan, I think it's nice to see how many comfort junglers the Trick does now have, because for a long time, his champion pool was questioned. Like, his Lee Sin wasn't that impressive, his Elise, he had good games and he had bad games, but with all these tanks available, Cho'gath, Sejuani, Gragas, Zac, there are so many things that he can have much more comfort on and a lot more success with. So, just by the way, G2, I'm expecting a Rakan potentially to come ahead for Mithy as well.
Yeah, we've seen the Kalista Rakan be so strong when you want to start fights. In last game, there weren't a lot of fights, so maybe G2 feeling like if they're the team that sets the tempo in this game, if they're the guys forcing fights, they'll come out on top. Febiven calling back to Perkz with his own Yasuo hover, but Thresh will be locked in for Che. Che once again with the playmaking support in his hands, although this one a lot more playmaking focused than maybe the Tahm Kench.
Okay, so now this is another opportunity where you could see Zed. Perkz did bring it out earlier on into the split with the Duskblade changes. It's a pretty strong pick. It gives you a much earlier game spike with your ultimate as well. And this could be an opportunity, but it might not be locked in just yet. Instead, I'd be, oh, okay, so they're going to go stick with something safe. I feel like Perkz did have a great Taliyah game earlier.
That was an emotional roller coaster of hovers. But yes, we'll go right back to the Taliyah. No Kassadin available this time, so much less of a clock for G2 to play against. Maybe not quite as much need to pressure out in the mid lane, but someone with a lot more early game threat onto Perkz now. Syndra versus Taliyah. Head into the second ban phase. 80 carries being taken off the board on the side of G2. We'll see what H2K wants to put the priority on.
If they want to ban things out, they're looking to take away some of these support picks that are left available. Rakan could be a good one. Braum is another. I feel like those two would like be the best next pick in terms of supports. But then maybe we'll see either an Alistar come out from the side of G2, or alternatively, you could go for the tag. A few options available to them. And then G2, they're saying, I see you have not locked in your AD carry. Let us help you. And instead, we will pick your AD carry for you as they ban away some of the more conventional. But this does leave things like an Ashe available for nuclear.
Or a Jhin.
Or a Jhin.
Now, we're not North America, so we don't think that pick is OP, but lethality coming back maybe moves it up. We'll see what they want to opt for. I like that the Braum's been taken away from Mithy, limiting some of what he can go for. The Jace also taken off the board. That was an early priority ban from G2 Esports last time around. H2K did not forget it here in the second game. Sven, stop it. You're not going to pick it. And now I'm wondering, what are they going to save for last pick? Will they save the top lane matchup or the mid lane?
Yeah.
Or the support?
Very likely to be the top lane matchup. Largely because it's, you have to expect a favor every once in a while, right?
He plays Jarvan 9 out of 10 games. You got to give him a winning lane matchup.
Yeah, just occasionally you want to try and do him a solid. And that will be a pretty all-in engaged competition that we have coming out from G2. Very similar, very much about team fighting. Laning phase, gonna be rough. Now it's going to be even rougher with the Ashe being locked in too. But you have a great way to lock down these low mobility carries in the form of Syndra and Ashe. You can knock them up, CC them, nicely set them up for the rest of G2 to crush them later on in these fights.
And I like this. We talked about H2K, how each of the individual members like having playmaking potential in their kit. Well, every single member of H2K definitely has some playmaking potential. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow, the Equalizer, Scatter, the Weak, the Death Sentence.
Don't do it.
The wide variety of CC present in the kit of that Cho'gath.
Just pick the fourth. I know you play him a lot, but he's really good in this
Oh, poor Expect. He even gets the counter pick, but picked right back into the J4 matchup. Is this a better matchup than Nar versus Jarvan?
It's less oppressive. That's the important thing, right? Jarvan does fine into the majority of matchups. He has really good harass with his Q. He can farm perfectly fine. He has the shield to mitigate some of the damage as well. And I just feel like a Rumble isn't going to just shut you down in lane. So I think it's fine. Laning phase, you will naturally get pushed in, but it's super easy to punish someone like a Rumble 2 if he overextends too much, because he doesn't have the same sort of escape tools that a Nar does have. So looking at the compositions from both teams, a lot of team fighting. Not so much 1-3-1 anymore. You have the Syndra and the Ashe, really good scaling alongside the Rumble. You have the Cho'gath, the added CC bot 2. You combine that up against the G2 composition of Jarvan, Gragas, Taliyah, Kalista, Alistar. Team fights, that's what we're gonna see.
I'm ready, man. I am so ready to see how these two team comps are going to stack up. I'm excited about this jungle matchup. Cho'gath versus the Gragas. Now, last time we had level 2 ganks. I don't think we're going to get that this time, but I'm curious to see. And of course, guys, this is your chance to vote. I could tell you about it, but I trust you. You're responsible adults or teenagers or whatever. You can do it. I believe in you. Go do it. I have faith, because we're getting ready for game 2, and there is so much to discuss for both these teams and both these compositions.
Now remember, Perkz said that G2 would not drop a game following Rift Rivals. Let's see if H2K will be the ones to protect Deficio's haircut, or will they continue the streak of G2?
It's game 2. We're not going to talk about the haircut anymore. H2K on blue side, G2 on red. G2 are 1-up in this series. and more than the haircut. Big confidence coming in from G2. After Rift Rivals, we will not lose a single game. They have won 3 so far. They have lost 0. Can they make it 4-0 with a victory in this series, or will H2K be the first team to find a win against G2 post Rift Rivals? We have to remember, H2K destroyed Roccat last week, obliterated them at every stage of the game, and now they have an incredibly aggressive comp in terms of the Ashe Thresh, the playmaking potential in each of their lanes, but maybe not as explosive in the early game.
So let's also take this opportunity to talk a little bit about the Cho'gath. We saw it earlier on in the day, coming out from the Unicorns of Love, and Xerxes didn't have the strongest of impact. A lot of it was spent mainly just farming when he got into team fights. Because of the Galio, it was a really strong disengage tool, which made it difficult for the Cho'gath to follow up on a lot of the engagements that came out from the side of UOL. This time round, it's a lot easier for him to follow up on these engagements. You have the Ashe Arrow, you have the Thresh Hook, you have the Syndra stun too. So many great ways to just find picks and start fights. And the Cho'gath CC follow-up means it is super difficult for G2 to be able to escape. So I'm excited to see how well this Cho'gath will work with the composition that he's now in.
You're very right, because when we saw Unicorns of Love put together a composition with Cho'gath in it, there was no gank assistance in any of the lanes. No one who could really start a fight outside of the bot lane for UOL. Now, every single lane, as you mentioned, has some way to start a gank going. Rumble, maybe the exception, has a few slows in the kit, no hard CC, but scatter the weak lands in that mid lane. It follows up with a Rupture and a Silence. There is no way you're surviving that.
Yeah, and so typically what we saw earlier on in the day was that most Cho'gath, they start with the E. It really helps with their wave clear, and with the changes to the Vorpal spikes, you now have that additional slow. It procs 3 times, and it scales with percentage health as well, which is going to be great later on into the game when you have that pesky Alistar and Gragas that are sitting on in your face. Couple that with the fact that he is a CC bot. Makes them usually want to get an early righteous glory, so it's easier to get involved in these fights and close the gaps. Xerxes went for the Warmogs, which I think was an issue, as Perkz goes for a very early roam down bot.
Level 2, surprise, surprise. Perkz with a little vengeance after last game, just throwing a little bit of harass down on the bottom side. That was weird, man. That was... Also, what I found hilarious was Perkz got bot, and then Febiven pinged mid. And you know Nuclear's just like, SS, hello. But because Perkz didn't have the level 3, he didn't have the knockback, no real pressure was able to be exerted, just a bit of poke. And maybe a bit of a miscommunication there. You saw level 2 come in for Zven and Mithy. Maybe they're hoping for the Alistar, the flash, headbutt, pulverized. Not gonna happen. And now Perkz has taken very poor trades here in the mid lane, hit by multiple Dark Spheres.
And dude, I played this matchup the other day in our normal games, remember?
God, no.
And like, I was just amazed at how much damage the Syndra did.
Of course, Syndra trades incredibly well.
Oh yeah, really, really well during the
And
phase.
the more farm and items she gets, the better
the more damage she does.
Which is something that Vedius didn't understand, but I'm sure all of you do. Have to keep our eyes, see what Febiven can do in this mid lane matchup. Perkz has packed the barrier, so maybe it will be a little bit easier for him to survive. And Perkz back into that scenario where all of the ground in the mid lane is worked. Maybe difficult to sustain that push. Here comes the Cho'gath, the knock up, the chain CC. The Silence is going to come in next. Does manage to get the barrier off, but no chance to flash. Perkz is burning down. Bye-bye. That's the power of the Cho'gath.
And that's the follow-up that we were talking about. Stun from the Syndra. Immediate knock-up. He waits for Perkz to land, and then he hits him with the Silence. There's nothing that Perkz can do about that. The best he could do is pop his barrier, still ends up losing his life, and this is going to be a big early advantage going in favor of H2K.
And we can see why the Cho'gath was a priority ban in game 1. If there is the gank assistance, if you have champions to set this guy up, he can do so much. Trick will spot the blast cone has been used. Knows Jankos is on the bottom side. A bit of vision in the jungle will confirm that as he continues his clear. But now Trick's in the bottom. They know Cho'gath is at least a little bit away. Nuclear may be getting a little too aggressive. Keep your eyes on Mithy. Hook goes onto the Kalista. Trick moving forward. Mithy has the flash. Are they going to go for it? Headbutt, flashed out, flayed back from Che. Now the TP's coming in from Odoamne, though G2 may have bit off more than they could chew. Mithy is in trouble. Odoamne dishing out a lot of damage. Courage of the Colossus buying him a bit of time. He's going to have to flash out. Cowbell, not enough. Hook does go in. Maybe looking for the follow-up. Trick should be fine for now. Neither side going to walk away with anything, but TP burned on the side of H2K.
Very quick teleport coming out from Odo, along with Jankos moving to the bottom side. They're either going for kills or this early tower.
Moving forward. Odoamne going to move in, does get the slowdown. Now the TP is coming in. Mithy buying what time he can, but it may not be enough. Jankos moving forward. The silence going down. Trick, no opportunity to escape the flash forward. Nuclear on the aggressive. Sven moving forward. Oh, surprise, surprise! There's Febiven! That's going to be 2 kills picked up for H2K. Perkz just doing what he can, but man, it's too little too late.
This early game from H2K is exactly what they needed. They get so many kills down on the side of G2 to propel the advantage that they needed in this early part of the map. The fact that this Kalista has fallen behind is so big, but now Febiven, he's extremely low.
Perkz running in, looking to get a little something back. May not have happened in the bottom lane, but he is set up now to get the kill. Flashes over the Dark Sphere. Quick little outplay there for Perkz in that mid lane.
Faker Slayer channeling the power of Bjergsen and to get the kill down onto Febiven. Definitely going to leave.
I mean, I know he lost the bottom side trade, man, but you don't need to consolidate it by giving him some praise.
But
here.
regardless,
definitely well played.
Let's backtrack down to the bottom lane. So you can see G2, they stick around a little bit too long. Odo is free to just walk up to Mithy. He doesn't have his flash available, so there's little he can do. And I feel like the TP should have just come out a little bit sooner from the side of G2. But really good movement from Febiven. He knew that Perkz was back at base. Zven was not expecting the mid laner to be there. They end up just getting collapsed upon. So 3 very swift kills going in the favor of H2K. And now G2, they're trying to answer back in the top lane.
See if G2 can do that. Trick is moving forward. He's just going to walk right past. Che is over the wall. H2K is here. 3 men strong. Pulling the Cho'gath.
Here comes the Cho!
Keep your eyes on the rupture. Trick is going to get knocked up. The silence is going to come in as well. No chance to body slam out. Goodbye, Trick. The chain CC, it's just a little bit too much.
Choo-choo, the pain train has arrived, and it has Jankos at level 6. Now getting himself another kill for the side of H2K. This early game going exactly the way that they wanted. This is how the Cho'gath should be played, ladies and gentlemen.
He didn't even buy yet. He didn't have any items. He's going to go back and buy a fully completed Cinder Hulk.
Damn.
That's insane.
2-0-2, Cho'gath. Who said tank junglers couldn't be early game, right? But this...
Me. I was wrong.
No, but you weren't wrong. You weren't wrong, Drakos. The thing to emphasize here is that he has great lanes for setting up ganks, right? We talked about it in the bottom lane. You have the Ashe, you have the Thresh. Mid lane, you have the Syndra. Top lane, Rumble not the best, but definitely can be effective, especially with the Equalizer too. And Jankos is just doing a great job of taking advantage of all these powerful laners to get himself a few early kills, as H2K now make their way down bot.
And very often when we see H2K be their most successful, it is when Jankos is fed, when Jankos is ahead, when he is the man making plays. The laner's now set to back him up. It's a good look for H2K. It's how they found a lot of success against Rawcat. Maybe this is the start of some of that consistency we were looking for.
Things certainly looking promising for the time being. They have push on bot. G2 have swapped back the lanes so that Kalista and Alistar have returned. Febiven going to get a really nice trade onto Perkz. Probably a little upset that he did end up dying.
Now, as we look out, we're kind of just waiting to see where's the Cho'gath going to go next. Because clearly the team has the setup. Ashe has the level 6. Thresh a little bit far away. Now G2 though, let's check in on things from their side. Not in the greatest spot. Expect doing much better in this lane matchup. That's a piece of good news. Still relatively even for Perkz in the mid lane, but Zven and Mithy are suffering a little bit here on the bottom side, not in terms of the CS, but in terms of the experience. Mithy just now hitting level 5. Zven has yet to hit level 6. That's going to limit a lot of what this team wants to do.
And you also have to remember the thing about Kalista is she is a very lane-dominant champion naturally. The whole goal is to be an early snowballer. Once she hits that 2 items, you want to try and make plays happen. But so far, it has been H2K that have control over the early game. Now, that's not to say that G2's ability to fight is weak, because they do have very powerful 2-item spikes specifically, but H2K have the scaling on their side. And as long as they play very similarly to how they did in the previous match, I'm excited to see what H2K can do in these later fights.
As in my Mithy maybe looking to make a play here. Backing up, headbutt pulverize, good damage down in nuclear. Interesting aggressive move, nothing's gonna happen.
Zoning, that's the goal there. They do force nuclear back. Now Trick hanging around the middle lane.
2v2. Perkz Trick, Febiven Jankos. Feels a little Febiven Jankos favorite at the moment.
Oh, slightly. Jankos is level 7.
It's not like they both have 2 kills. Of course, we can see that, though, in the itemization, because Perkz is going incredibly defensive. But one thing that we saw last game, you can see this from the perspective of H2K, it was dead even. throughout the vast majority of the game. 1.1K, the largest goal difference between those two teams. It evens out at 35. This game, though, much more H2K favored in the early game.
Oh, it certainly has been. And here comes another return gank in the mid.
Rupture, not going to connect. Jankos just going to have to back off. Perkz still playing pretty fearless. Has to respect the silence, but not concerned.
You're right. So if you want to pick up Cho'gath at home and you want to guarantee that gank, ooh, hang on, hook, going to go wide. But if you want to guarantee that gank, best thing to do, if you want to go super aggro, flash silence, so you know they can't flash away. Then you go for the knock-up. Because you're super close, you can actually just put the knock-up in the middle of their character so that you can guarantee that it's going to hit them. And then you have the Syndra follow-up with an ult. That is a dead Taliyah.
Don't forget to steal the kill with Feast, guys.
Yeah,
because stacks are important.
Yeah, because you know the Syndra's damage just isn't enough. So you just nom-nom, get your brunch.
You're the tank and the carry.
Yeah, it's really important. And we can talk about the Stoneplate interaction later, assuming that he does choose to buy it.
Favorite interaction. We'll save it. And Jankos, happy to use the auto attack reset on the new Vorpal spikes, adding the slow as well. So if he can get into melee range, you're pretty much dead against the Cho'gath, but of course, with no dashes, with no extra mobility, pretty difficult for him to get in that position. Still reliant, kind of as you mentioned earlier, on maybe some flash plays or alternatively setup from his laners, but hasn't been an issue so far. And now as we get past the 10-minute mark, you can see decent gold lead in the favor of H2K. And on the side of the G2, falling behind early, we saw H2K, similar spot in the other game. Falling behind a little bit, some of these lane matchups, suffering, specifically casted in the mid lane. I want to see if G2 can pull it back in the same way.
Well, it's going to be much more difficult because if they try and go for that Baron play, H2K are much better equipped to handle it this time around. As both teams just posture around the Raptors.
Ready.
I was holding my breath there. I was like,
yeah, because you're like, you want to let me in, but I'm like, I don't know, Vedius. Are they going to fight?
So you have those brief moments of pause in casting. But now the setup is around this dragon. You can see a lot of red vision surrounded from G2, mainly inside the pit, and that's what H2K are looking to clear out. But they have to have lane priority. So what you'll notice is Rumble, oh, he's actually not going to clear out another wave. He's going to decide to go back, so he's ready for the TP play. He might even make his way there, but bot lane will be pushed, TP coming in.
Jankos maybe in trouble here. Rupture is going to go down, is going to hit 2. Che flashing out to safety. Jankos is still alive. Mithy is moving forward. He may have a lot of damage immunity, but true Cho'gath can still eat through it. The fight is explosive. Sven going to throw him right back out. Bye-bye! Nice late night snack there coming in for Jankos. Now the double kill. The Cho'gath is going off. Odoamne may give his life, but he's not going to drop. Everyone from H2K is still alive. That is a 3-4-0 trade.
And earlier in the day, the Cho'gath could be ignored, but you cannot ignore Jankos' Cho. The moment Sven got within range, he just chomped down onto that Kalista and said, tasty. As they walk away with the tower, they won't even walk away with the dragon. They say they don't need it, and another team fight win, an advantage gain for the side of H2K.
And this is so different from H2K. This is not the H2K last game. It was like, we'll wait, we can get stronger. This is an H2K looking to fight.
So look at how G2, they punish Jankos and Che as they try and get in, but that silence so effective at delaying the follow-up engagement. Sven on the backside, you think he's safe, and then goodbye. Just instant evisceration from their AD carry.
Can't flash, man. The tongue's already wrapped around you. You're done, so.
Mithy, he was too squishy at this point in the game, and everything just going in favor of H2K. And this is what we talked about. They're better equipped to fight this time around. Their team composition is so much better. And given that you already have the early lead, you have the item advantages. So G2 going for that fight, they just couldn't kill Jankos fast enough. And now he's working towards that early magic resistance because he's not afraid of Sven. He's not afraid of Expect.
And here's the terrifying thing. Fed Assassins, they kill you in one shot. Fed Tanks, you can't kill them at all. And you're in a position now where G2 have to be very concerned coming into this fight because Cho'gath is not only a tank. If he gets Gargoyle Stoneblade, he's basically an assassin too. You have to respect the burst damage coming in, the CC, but there's also an Ashe to worry about. Febiven is incredibly strong on the Syndra. And now H2K just looking to flex their muscles again, doing their best double lift impression. This is going to connect in the mid lane.
But they force the flash from Perkz, so it's going to be massive if they make another fight happen. That Ashe arrow cooldown is going to come off much sooner than the flash of Perkz. So G2, they're definitely on the back foot right now. I think he's going to face check.
Mithy, flayed back, getting the knock up. Fate's Call going to come out to save the day, but G2 forced to burn a major cooldown there on the transition. Going to be very difficult if that Cho'gath looks for a dive. Aggressive engage into the mid lane. Ulti comes out, but knocks right back. Beautiful seismic shove from Perkz.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Drakos. Perkz playing that fantastically. They didn't even need the ulti from Trick. And now the hook lands onto Zven.
Goes in. Knock back, chain CC, comes over the wall. What a combo. Jankos is still there. He's looking for the devour. He's just gonna give that one over to Nuclear. He's taking his time. Nom, nom, nom. Beef for dinner, folks. H2K going off, but now Odoamne could be the man in trouble. Perkz running as best he can. Seismic shove knocks it back. G2 fire back with a kill of their own.
But they're losing the top lane tower. Nuclear picks himself up a kill alongside Jankos. Very considerate of Jankos to be sharing those kills and allowing the carries to get to a point where they can have a bigger impact. But G2, they found another pick.
Che moving forward, looking to get Perkz. He's gonna get the shutdown. Trick is almost out of mana. He can't actually kill the Thresh. Che's just gonna walk away. See you next time, friend, he says. We'll be back in a couple minutes. And H2K already looking to break a tier 2 tower. Vedius, this is not an even game. This is not a close game. This is H2K dominating G2 across the map.
Oh man, these guys, they are being so swift with their execution. We expected more bloodshed in game 2. The slow, calculated plays, they are long gone as H2K and G2 continue to brawl it out, pick after pick, fight after fight. H2K are the ones consistently coming out of top in this second game. So as we jump into the replay, as you rightly said, 5K lead right now in favor of H2K. Zven, he was just trying to clear out the vision. He had no idea that Che was lying in wait. He actually shouldn't have been able to see where he was. He just went on the prediction, gets the blind hook. The kill initially goes over to Nuclear because they know they can get the nom-nom, but then G2 see this as an opportunity to try and force a play in mid, and Odo very nearly turns it around.
That's a beautiful equalizer to shut down some of that aggression. Does set up later the kill for Che, something we're not going to catch in that replay, but kill for the Thresh never hurt anybody. 106 support Ashe coming in, 307 Che, the ever bloodthirsty support, and Cho'gath, interestingly enough, opting for the adaptive helm here. Saw some buffs on patch 7.13. Not always the go-to item, but is coming in. Yeah.
A little surprising that he decided to prioritize that. Personally, I am a big advocate of the Righteous Glory into Knight's Vow, followed by something like a Locket of the Iron Slurry, or one of those more supportive defensive. But Jankos saying like he really values the early magic resistance. He thinks it will mitigate a lot of what Perkz can do. And so, slight shift in what we typically expect from a lot of current Cho'gaths that we've seen in solo queue.
And this is just such a different game from our previous one. We look at this is H2K. If they can continue to play like this, making a statement. This is a team that has been struggling to fight at the top of Group E for so long, a team that has been playing second fiddle to the Unicorns of Love since Spring Split. But now with Unicorns of Love struggling, with the potential for H2K to take down G2 here, things are starting to look a lot better. Oh,
they certainly are. Now the Rift Child has made his way to the mid lane. Her way to the mid lane, rather. My apologies. Flash comes out from Zven.
Che does get the box set up. Weaver's Wall going to come out. Perkz not going to find the opportunity, but he will save the tower, will mitigate the impact of that Rift Herald. H2K, very vocal. We can hear him here in the studio. Clearly looking to make some more aggressive calls, and you can kind of see why. Level 10 Jankos, 2 items, 5-0-4 feast continuing to stack up, and it's pretty lackluster score lines across the board for G2.
Yeah. Zven only now, 18.5 minutes into the game, getting himself the Blade of the Ruin King compared to the Infinity Edge and Zeal of Nuclear. This Kalista is going to have an extremely rough time. G2 wanted to be forcing so many plays in the mid-game, but it has been the Cho'gath show for the majority, and you really can't see why the ban went out in game 1. A lot of respect being shown as Jankos continues to dominate in this second game.
And we're seeing now the key to success for Cho'gath, having laners who can set that CC up. Cho'gath can keep that chain CC going, he just can't start it himself.
Don't face check, don't face check, don't face check.
Perkz. Oh, flash forward, there's too much CC. It does not matter if you block one spell. You are still doomed to die. Mid laner down. Massive advantage for H2K. What is the next move?
Well, for H2K, they need to push these waves out. Get deeper vision around bound. You can see they've already started the setup. But they could also look to rush down mid and then make their way back towards the Baron as it spawns in about 30 seconds. That's already a very low health tower. And they could look for a pick as well. They have a lot of tools, remember, with the Ashe, with the Thresh.
Rupture going to go down. Mithy in trouble, is pulled back by the Fate's Call, but Trick maybe the sacrificial lamb. The fight starts off. Febiven is locked down. G2 looking to get a kill back. Now Jankos knocked
this
up.
Is good.
Not going to survive the tower. G2 looking to turn and burn, looking to bring it back. Waiting on the flag and drag from Expect, just going to run forward, keeps the auto attack up. TP now coming in. Flay back, but no. Expect with the flawless timing on the flag and drag.
And H2K, they overcommit. They tried to go for the dive after shutting Trick down so quickly, but with all the burst gone onto the jungler, there was nothing left as Zven and Expect start turning it around on the backside. You have to be so careful in this situation. H2K, their goal should have been to just focus down the tower, but they wanted the kills. A really good barrel onto Febiven allowed Zven to get that initial kill. He then picks up a second along with the shutdown onto Jankos. And G2, they find a successful fight, and they even get the teleport off the back of it as well. H2K, they needed to slow down. Remember, everything was going so well for them, and it's plays like these that allow G2 to come back into the game.
Playing the early game at a breakneck pace for H2K. Not used to slowing down now. They have such a big advantage, but they still have to respect the potential, the counter-engage. The tower that still does a lot of damage as well. G2 fire back, they're still at a massive deficit, but if they can keep finding plays like that, if H2K keep making small mistakes, keep overstepping, G2 very well could be right back in this game.
Yeah, it's really important to remember that even though G2 won that small skirmish, H2K still have a 6,000 gold lead. That is a completed Morellonomicon, a completed Runan's Hurricane. There is a big item advantage going in favor of H2K, so they should still be winning these fights. It will require a big overextension or a big misplay from H2K for G2 to really claim to be back into the game. For the time being, map's still in control with H2K. Look at how freely they can just move into the enemy jungle and get back all the vision that they lost.
H2K, looks like they've been calmed down a little bit. Reminded, you're not immortal even if you are winning the game quite handedly.
Yeah, they're in North America.
We make too many North America jokes. That's my new theory.
That's what we got left.
No, it hurts because it's true. All right. Well, H2K taking a slow and steady Baron setup approach. Last time they camped a brush, the same brush that Che is standing in. It led to a kill on Perkz, but it looks like it's going to be slightly different this time around. And unfortunately for H2K, a single unswept ward. Observers, if we can look at that ward just right there, and that Scuttle Crab. This is the only thing keeping G2 in the game. If that ward continues to live, Febiven keeps moving in instead of sweeping that out, that's another 2 minutes that H2K can't buy Dragon. We see Scuttle Crab's going to fade away.
Yeah.
But H2K not going to be able to threaten. Can't even fake it as long as Scuttle Crab and a single...
No. That's it. Right. The Baron's gone. No, but you are right, Drakos. That was a big piece of information that G2 had, always knowing whether or not H2K were committing to that objective. So they have to take a few more risks. You can see how cautiously Trick and Mithy ponder into the Baron area, but they're always afraid of a possible pick. Little do they know that the entire H2K team have based. The power of vision.
What a nefarious plan. Make them think we're doing Baron. Really, we're buying items. Well, still have control. Double control wards coming in now, triple control wards. Jankos picking up a few items. Now the pieces to Gargoyle's Stone Plate.
Yeah.
Vedius, do you want to run people through why that's such a hilarious item?
I want to run people through. So, the thing about Gargoyle's Stone Plate is if there are 3 or more enemies nearby, you get a lot of bonus HP. Jankos' ultimate scales with bonus HP. I don't know if it'll help him here, though.
You're going to have to hold that thought. Perkz on the wrong side of the Weaver's wall. That could be disastrous for the fight to come. Mithy backing off. Jankos still does a lot of damage despite missing out on the Stone Plate. Arrow fired on the backside. Odoamne on the front. He's going to go golden. Mithy moves in to try to mitigate the team fight. But that is a fed Cho'gath on the front line.
Beautiful
hook. But the hook saving the day for H2K. Could have been a bad fight, but they're going to keep the ball rolling. G2 starting to fall apart. H2K, what is next on the menu? May just be that Baron.
Well, they're looking for it. The jungler for G2 is still alive, but Che, fantastic CC onto the AD carry. Zven look poised and ready to turn that fight around. Let's see if Trick can still save this for G2.
Could all come down to this. So much CC. Every member of H2K ready to interrupt Trick before he can get into that pit, but are they going to do it in time? Jankos is the Cho'gath. He has the feast, he has the, no feast actually, just the smite. Trick moving forward. Can he get it? Jankos gonna take it down in the end, a close call. But H2K gonna secure the Baron. Perkz has to be careful, playing with fire right now, running out of mana. Mithy may just have given his life for this contest. Is gonna get taken down. H2K in absolute control.
I wanna say that Jankos silenced Trick, which is why he couldn't go for the smite. We'll have to take a look back at the replay at exactly how that came to be, but the very few situations in which you cannot use that smite is when you're silent. So If that was the case, well played by Jankos. Regardless, H2K, they get a great teamfight win. They get themselves the Baron. Now they have a solid gold advantage. If they didn't before, they're certainly in a great position to be able to close out this game and take us to a game 3. So let's just see. Jankos becomes the focus, right? Ulti is used onto him. He gets the lantern out. Mithy connects, but then Zven still is not here. Perkz immediately forced to flash. He's completely zoned out of the fight, and you think this is awful from Odoamne, but then they just come up with the immediate follow-up, and look at this great hook there onto Zven. He gets nommed down by Jankos too, and just the coordination and the decision-making coming out from H2K to be able to just know that they can win that fight was spectacular, and just individual execution too worked out heavily in their favor.
Kalista, Taliyah, 2 champions so excellent at kiting, but the hook comes in. Any hope that G2 had of winning that team fight after the aggressive move from Odoamne is squashed the second that hook hits Fen. Now finally getting a chance to itemize towards a QSS, something to deal with the hard CC coming his way, but is it going to be too little too late? 10k gold advantage for H2K. Trick very much in trouble. Gargoyle Stone Plate plus the Feast not going to be needed quite yet. Weaver's Wall coming in. Jankos, what's the option? Who's on the menu? Who's he looking to kill? Hook does go over the wall. Are they going to go for Trick? Jankos knocked back to the middle of the team. Double kill dropping for Febiven. Now the fight's going to keep continuing. Moving forward, Sven is in trouble. Jankos backing off, giving him respect. Perkz also incredibly low. Keep an eye on Odoamne on the backside. Equalizer not up quite yet, or it is. And now H2K pushing in, may just look to break that inhibitor line.
And Jankos just does not die, and Che continues to be the man of the hour. Hook after hook, setup after setup. H2K continue to find these great fights, and they're gonna get themselves an inhibitor.
Massive advantage in the favor of H2K. They get the inhibitor. 13k backing them up as well. Arguably more important, 7 towers to 1. This is absolute dominance. G2 have fired back once or twice, but there's just no hope. And we can watch the fight again, but just so well played.
And just really cool little sidestep here from Jankos. Notice how he doesn't get knocked back because he's able to dodge it. He pops the Stone Plate very early, so he's super tanky. Trick still feels that he can stick around in the fight, but then Mithy and Trick, they're overextended. Febi joins the fray, and he's like, it's my time to shine as he cleans up the rest.
Yeah, he definitely rolled up and stole 2 kills. Like, Cho'gath just about killed everybody in that fight.
He just puts the shades on, and he's like, deal with it. As expect now, I don't know if he can deal with this.
I would agree. There's a flay there to interrupt him. It is going to be used. Oh my, that was sick. Whatever else happens in this game, that was sick. Excellent escape from Expect.
That was really cool. Well played there, Expect. Able to get out of that one. Turns out he can deal with it. But H2K, they still have the Baron. 10 seconds left. Let's see if they can get anything else, or if they just play it cool. Looks like they want to keep pushing in. They're maintaining vision control around the jungle for now. See if they can find themselves a pick. But looks like the base is their next goal.
Perkz poking over the wall. Still loses the Banshees to Jankos. Comes up so infrequently, that's going to be frustrating. But it looks like H2K not pushing aggressively enough to punish that small window of opportunity. However, Febiven may be looking to change that, holding onto the Dark Sphere. We'll use the Force of Will just to throw it a little bit closer, but no more aggressive moves coming from H2K quite yet. Waiting for the minion wave to back them up.
Okay, okay. So, just to let you know, Jankos, he has 10 stacks. When he ulties, he gets about 8,000 HP.
When he Stone Plates.
Oh, Stone Plate, sorry, when he uses his Stone Plate.
He gets 8,000 HP, yes.
And he does a lot of damage.
Yeah, keep in mind, 4,000 of that is counted as bonus HP. And you're like, guys, 60% damage reduction on Stone Plate. That would be dumb.
Right.
Doesn't reduce true damage. Fun fact, Feast hits like a truck. Be ready for it.
G2, the walls come out now. They've separated H2K.
Oh, Mithy knocked up. Moving a little bit forward. Jankos is going to be knocked back. Now popping Gargoyle Stone Plate.
He feels no pain.
Oh, not popping it, rather. It's so gray, I can't tell. All right. Slow, steady siege. H2K actually taking, I think, the better end of that, or G2 rather, taking the better end of that trade, because Jankos taking 50% health, definitely not where he wants to be.
But
he is tanky.
All the ultis are still available for H2K. They have a minion wave.
Oh, nice engage from Trick. Now the team is knocked back, but Jankos is in the middle of everybody. Gargoyle Stone Plate. Who's he going to look to nom? It's going to be Trick. Goodbye. So much damage coming in, but now they're on the back foot. Jankos shut down. G2, they're not giving up another inhibitor. Pulling back, waiting for that flag and drag. Expect not going to get aggressive yet. They have to respond to the minions on the bottom side. Maybe this is H2K's chance to push in. It is the 1-for-1 trade in the end. Jungler for jungler, but the super minions are on H2K's corner, and that could mean the end right here.
H2K, they're continuing to push. They have 4 members. I don't know if G2 have anything left.
Flag and drag, leaping forward. Gargoyle stone play, keep it expect nice and healthy. Mithy in the middle of everything. Looks like he is just going to go down. Che on a rampage. That is a bloodthirsty Thresh. Perkz has to flash out to safety. Another inhibitor is now set to fall. H2K. That's not 100% clean because G2 continue to find small picks here and there, but they continue to dominate this game. 13K gold lead maintained. Yet another tower felled, yet another inhibitor dropped. One Nexus tower, all that's left.
And it's going to be even harder for G2 to come back from this. 13,000 gold deficit. They are finding decent fights, but it just isn't enough because all H2K have to do is be patient. The bottom lane inhibitor was down. Those minions, someone had to go and answer them from G2. And once Zven was gone, H2K knew that they could siege onto that tower. Now the Baron is spawning in 45 seconds. This is the last hope for G2 to try and come back into this game. But let's have a look back at how the second half of the fight played out. You can see here, no ulti available for Mithy. Not that tanky without that ulti, especially when you are so starved of gold. It becomes a very easy tower take for the side of H2K. But Baron spawning relatively soon. Full vision control right now in favor of H2K. G2, if they do want to come back, they have to try and challenge it. Otherwise, it's just going to be a slow, methodical end for H2K as they walk the minions into the base and nexus of G2.
And we'll be honest, it's not like they have the scaling advantage this time around.
No.
Things are looking grim for G2, and as we approach a game 3, one Deficio's hair is probably saved. He's going to be happy about that. I'm quite sad. But H2K, they have shown us what I feel is the same form they showed us against Roccat. Dominating early game, confidence in execution, consistently engaging fights. And in game 1, we saw G2 choking an opponent out, looking for their opportunities, finding victory. Both teams have shown us so much strength in this series. Game 3, who's going to show up? Are we going to have both teams playing this aggressive?
Oh no, Tricky doesn't have the E. Ooh, that hook just barely misses.
Wonder what's to come. However, have to keep our eyes on the game at hand. Arrow, ooh, casual sidestep. Wall comes out. Mithy gonna make sure he's on the opposite side. Nuclear and Che, not the case. A little bit of a split up fight. G2 burning so many ultimates though just to disengage.
And they will lose a lot of pressure around the top half of their jungle as well. They gained a decent amount of vision. TP was also used for expect, but because of the bad position of it, given the Taliyah wall, he decided not to follow it through. But this could be a great opportunity for H2K to blemish the record of G2. Things looking spectacular for them right now.
And at this point in the game, Feast greatly out-damaging Smite. Smite doing 800 true damage, Feast doing 1,300. Oh, now the fight's gonna get started off. Trick has been picked off. G2 had to come to fight for the Baron, but can they win the fight now?
Oh,
Going on the side, Odoamne looking for a little bit more opportunity on the back side. Mithy's been knocked up, they're trying to disengage. Sven's still alive and well, but he has to run. Jankos is looking to devour him. Is he gonna have enough damage? Perkz, you cannot make it out of there. H2K crushing the fight, and it was grim from G2 to the start, but H2K just continue to execute.
Clean ace, 5-0, H2K. They find the dominant win over G2, and they're gonna find the game.
An incredibly dominant game coming in from H2K. They are gonna move in, they are gonna take down the Nexus. They are going to tie up the series and bring us to that game 3. And just a very, very different game, Vedius.
Oh yeah.
H2K all-out aggression. G2, when they were all-out aggression in the early game, it was a Kha'Zix flashing in, trying to shut down a Cassidy in the mid lane. This time it's a Cho'gath paired with a Syndra. Those two together, Febiven and Jankos building so many advantages. Che as well, a man on a mission. The tower dive on the bottom side, the start of his series of good plays, but it just kept going. He just kept hitting hooks, and H2K were everywhere. They did not give G2 a single chance to breathe.
And you can see the difference when you have an early game Cho'gath versus a Cho'gath that doesn't really have the same level of impact or the same level laners that you can look to utilize, because that's the biggest thing about Cho'gath. He is a facilitator. He follows up extremely well, and every time that arrow landed, the hook landed, the stun landed, he was always there and ready to give the silence, the knockup, everything to give H2K the early lead that they so effectively snowballed away.
A one-shot trick in a mid-game team fight. Well, H2K had their backs against the wall, but they managed to strike back with a win. Tell us more about Game 2, Sjokz.
Well, Drakos, I love the adaptation out of H2K. Obviously, the Cho'gath and Syndra worked really well. But Henning, what in the approach of H2K in the draft, besides that obvious change, was working really well for them?
So what happened in game number 1 was that they had a good draft, but they weren't able to pull it off. This time they go for a completely different playstyle, also with a good draft, and go for the pickup instead, which works out really well. And the most important factor is the vision denial. So many control wards, so many sweepers going on, specifically in towards the top side of G2's jungle. I think there was a specific push that they were able to like pick up people 3 times over and over. So really good vision denial and a good executed pick hump.
Yeah, and that was.
It all starts in the mid lane in this game. And that's again, surprisingly enough. It wasn't necessarily Perkz roaming out of lane early, but we want to look at H2K in the mid lane early on. They picked up first blood, of course. Perkz comes back to lane from a roam bottom lane, low on mana. And unfortunately finds out that if you've got a stun in that lane, somehow Cho'gath easily finds his way in, gets the rupture, is able to output a lot of damage. And Wadid, you had a lot of props this game for Che specifically. What is it about Che on his Thresh that looks so good to you?
Because he just saved his skill before our... Like after our teammates hit his skill, and then he after just changed his seed, it's kind of more easy to Thresh to play more good. So he just saved his skill really well.
And that was kind of what we saw here from Che, this play where H2K take the first blood and roam down to the bottom side, catch G2 a little bit unaware because they're there with the numbers early, get the play using the Thresh and H2K. From there, never really let go of a lead.
That they didn't with it, and you played versus an H2K that kind of did the same thing to you, absolutely put the pressure on you early game. So how strong is H2K with the lead?
Yeah, they're just a veteran. They know how to rotate, and they know how to use their champion. And then they're ahead, so...
Pretty good. And Jankos is getting fed, so that's good. So let's compare this then to what we saw earlier in the day. We saw Unicorns of Love obviously running the Cho'gath in combination with a Vladimir. Doesn't have really anything to lock the target down. How big of a difference does it make that this time Syndra was in play?
It makes a huge difference. Also, there are many tools in the other lanes. We had specifically in the bottom lane, the Ashe arrow and the Thresh to set up Cho'gath, and that's exactly what you need. You need these sort of things to set up the rupture, and then the silence, such a strong CC tool as well. So Cho'gath really working out well for Jankos there.
It's also perfect for Jankos, a monster in-game.
Yeah, and we saw the Stone Plate adaptation used in combination with the Feast. We saw him like one-shot Trick and Zven. Zven he didn't even need the Stone Plate for in that team fight.
Yeah, he now picked up the Kalista and Alistar. Wadid was excited to see that, but there was nothing to be done versus this H2K composition once they got rolling. Let's take a look at a couple of mid and late game team fights, and in the first one we are going to see Cho'gath's might specific. So I kind of want to keep my eye on how Cho'gath works in a team fight outside of the Feast.
So Cho'gath in this situation, the fight starts around him, which is great because it allows him to get multiple instances of rupture and the silence as well. And as soon as you step too close and too low health, you get that indicator around you. Cho'gath can feast you for the kill, and it just adds to his stacks. From there, Jankos is fine, and all of the engage tools from H2K are actually still available for the remainder of the fight after it starts off, because it was G2 that tried to engage.
That they did. Wadid, if you are an Alistar in this situation and this is happening, what do you try to do? Who do you try to isolate?
It's really, really hard to choose. Well, it's really hard. Just hope for the best.
This was an unwinnable game, it seemed like, for G2.
When you're behind 10k, then just hope for the best, you know.
Hope for the best.
I can say Wadid wasn't impressed by Mithy's Alistar for one reason. No cowbell at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, that's true. That's why they lose, you know, to be honest. You have to ring the bell and then listen some claps, and then feel some freedom. And then
That was a big mistake, but props to H2K. Fantastic snowballing game there for them. So Henning, what are we expecting out of game 3? We saw a slow game, we saw a fast game. I like seeing fast games, but maybe it's not always the best choice.
I want to see more mid lane priority from both of the teams. Like, get one of these guys rolling. It's our featured matchup. You know, Perkz versus Febiven just going at each other. I want to see both junglers spending time mid lane and getting their laner ahead.
Does anyone want to change their votes? I'm trying to remember. There was an H2K win, a
There's
G2
a 2-1
win,
G2 win, and a 2-0 G2 win.
Yes. So does anyone want to change their votes? You're out.
I kind of...
Yeah, you might want it.
Can I change? No?
No, that's not how that works.
No, that's not how that works.
I'm sticking
to our guns.
I'm sticking.
Sticking to the guns. We'll see what happens. The series is on the line when H2K and G2 face off in the deciding game. Going to be a thrilling fight. Don't go anywhere.
For Nuclear on the aggressive. Zven moving forward. Oh, surprise, surprise! There's Febiven! Gonna get a little something back. May not have happened in the bottom lane, but he is set up now to get the kill. Flashes over the Dark Sphere.
Nice, that was really close.
Oh, Sjokz here. Kalista. Nice! Kalista is dead.
Alistar.
I need help. Alistar. Okay.
No feast, actually. Just a smite trick moving forward.
Oh.
Can he get it? Jankos gonna take it down in the end. A close call. Ben's still alive and well, but he has to run. Jankos is looking to devour him. Is he gonna have enough damage? Perkz, you cannot make it out of there. They are going to tie up the series and bring us to that game 3.